welcome to my channel. I hope you guys can hear me well. I'm in the kitchen / living room and I feel like there's a big echo. Hopefully that's okay. I know I'm staring at this as opposed to this. We're gonna talk about that. So today we're gonna talk about autistic traits, my autistic traits. I know y'all have all been waiting for this. I really don't know that. That's the fun part about the internet, huh? This video is gonna be really weird, but I'm just gonna be myself because I've learned to mask that part. It's really sad. I learned to mask my actual self, but that's an autistic thing, right? All right, so first things first, eye contact. I don't like to make it, especially in a vulnerable situation. It's a vulnerable conversation. Like now, that's why you'll notice I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking down and I love it. I love doing that. So I have no problem with it. I know that it can be difficult for other people who aren't maybe aware of how autism works, whatever. I do notice that I'll tend to look like above where the little camera eye, excuse me, I have a very itchy nose today. I think it's the change in the weather. And so when I'm in a vulnerable position, such as this position that I'm in right now, where I have to talk about something that's very vulnerable to me and something very personal, I will probably not look at you in the face, or I will look away and back at you. I also do that when I'm learning something new, when someone is communicating something that's a little bit more, maybe to someone else, it wouldn't be like a step-by-step thing that I'll have to perform, but it happens a lot at work. For example, I do a lot of SDG&E bills, and sometimes like one of the properties that we work with, their SDG&E bill merges with another SDG&E bill, right? And so when my coworker is telling me about it, I really have to see the visual, like the actual bill in front of me, or I have to have the computer open and I have to see, you know, a tenant's account on the computer, so I can know and follow the conversation, things like that. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the eye contact, is what I'm trying to say. Goes hand in hand with the learning, with not the learning, but visual. How would I say this? The characteristic that I'm referring to is basically that I have trouble visualizing when I'm being spoken to. So like I said, with the example of the bill, I have trouble visualizing what I'm being told about if I don't have the bill in front of me. Even if I've seen these bills 100 times. It's usually because that's just how my brain works. Like, I am very, like, the way that I've read about it is that I learn in like diagrams. I have to go step by step with things. So if I'm looking at a bill, I have to go, okay, well, you know, this is the address and this is what's happening and blah, blah, blah. Like, I literally have to go through all those steps in my mind. And it's kind of weird to have to explain that to people. What's another thing? A lot of the times, there is a lot of the time where someone will be explaining something to me, and I know I've already asked them like 2 to 3 times what they're talking about, and usually it's when I can't visualize the thing that they're talking about, where I'm like, fuck, I'm so fucking lost. But I don't want to tell them that I'm lost. And I don't tell this to a lot of people, honestly. Like, for example, me telling you now, I would hate for someone to be like, oh, well, she's not gonna get this and this because she didn't get that and that. It's like, no, I will communicate when I don't understand something, right? And a lot of the times, like at work, people have used the R word before, so it can be really hard to admit when I might not understand something because they've used the R word and used it pretty frequently. So, you know, I just, like, what I do is I go back to my desk, I look at it myself, and I do the step-by-step thing, and it's pretty easy. Not easy, but, you know, it's my way of doing it, and I don't mind it. I enjoy it. I need it, right? It's pretty neutral. It's not good or bad. It's just the way things are. What else? Jeez. I've also noticed that it's really hard for me sometimes when I'm really stressed, and this is sometimes when I'm really stressed, it's hard for me to vocalize how I'm feeling, which kind of relates to a trait that, you know, is called selective mutism, which is the way that I understand it, and I'm still trying to get a grasp of it, right? Is the way that I understand it as long in my life, is what I'm trying to say, is that there are times where I just won't want to talk. Like, I'll be really stimulated from work or from social interaction or from even moving houses, because moving means I'm changing up my routine and whatnot. And so that change can really stress me out, and it can make me not want to talk. And I just kind of want to do, you know, my own things. I want to learn things online, or I want to be playing with my plants, driving around, going to the movies, like doing things I enjoy, but by myself where I don't have to talk. So that's kind of where the selective mutism goes into. A lot of the times people will experience wanting to say words, but they just don't come out. And I'm still exploring the way that I relate to that. I relate to selective mutism and how I experience it. But what I shared is kind of what, you know, so far is what I've noticed. Mind you, I keep noticing things the more I, you know, explore my own autism, the more that just as time progresses, as time goes on. I just found out, I got the official diagnosis, like I mentioned in the last video, in July of 2021. It's currently September the 27th, I believe, of 2021. I started to suspect that I was autistic maybe of March of 2021. So it's been a short while, and if you've been through this process, or maybe you're like starting the process of thinking that you might be autistic, which usually, pro tip, you usually start off by thinking there's no way that you could be autistic, and you don't want to be, you don't want to disrespect the community by calling yourself autistic. That was just a big side note, something I experienced. I know a lot of people experience. But of course, you know, there are people who aren't autistic. However, I still think that if you're considering that you're autistic, like, you know, keep doing the studies, keep looking into it, because maybe you are. So, okay, so that was selective mutism. Interests. So what I had read about is that basically non-classical autism, I don't know if it's all considered level 1 autism, but basically classic autism, we consider, you know, interests like being into trains or being into tech, being really interested in, excuse me, I don't know, things like that, right? For me,